Hi everyone,
Hi.
welcome back to our weekly controller chats. We are Caleb and Linda from Bamboo and Backpacks.
Yes, and today we are talking to Lauren from Committing to Kindness, and as her handle, Committing to Kindness, suggests, she is all about being kind. Kind to yourself, kind to others, and kind to the planet. So, without further ado, let's get started.
So first, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, so hello, my name is Lauren. I am from New Hampshire. You can find me at Committing to Kindness is the name of my Instagram account. Blog is on the way. And like I said, I'm currently in New Hampshire, but I will be going back to Spain, which is where I've been living and teaching for almost 5 years now. So yeah, based in Spain.
Very cool.
And so your Instagram handle and your blog will be called Committing to Kindness. Can you tell us why you chose that to be your name and your motto?
Yes. So the motto and the idea behind Committing to Kindness really came um, from there's a couple of different motives behind it. So the first one being, I think as I was sitting down to really think about how I wanted to frame and outline this travel blog, I was going through back through a lot of my journal entries, and I'm raving about the history and the culture and the food, but there just seemed to be this overarching theme of people that I had met, gestures of kindness that I either experienced or that I witnessed other people experience. And I just thought that was really the coolest thing. It's just the people that you meet traveling, and the positive experiences that I've taken away from it. There's definitely been their share of a fair share of negative experiences and not so ideal travel experiences, but I really like to look back on those positive ones. So there was that. It was kind of my mission to put all of these stories into one space, and then it also seemed to sort of coincide with a lot of political polarization that we've sort of been experiencing a lot, and it was just something that I felt like there was just such a feeling of us versus them. And I just wanted to focus on these positive stories as avenues through which we can um, find empathy and maybe kind of get past a lot of the issues that divide us. So not necessarily to turn a blind eye to a lot of the severity of the issues that are happening, but just kind of offer this positive bit as a way forward. And yeah. So
Totally. That's amazing. It's really cool. There is so much of this me versus you, I think, all around the world right now. And to use social media, blogs, just to get away that positive voice is an amazing thing to
yeah.
do. So
Yeah.
we really appreciate it.
I
Yes.
appreciate that. You appreciate that. Thank you. Really a lot.
So, you ask a lot of your audience and people to share positive stories that have impact them on their lives. Is there any specific one that stands out the most to you?
Yeah. So I think I'd just like to start that by saying I love all of the stories, like anything from the smallest gesture and act of kindness to this like grandiose, wow, I can't believe that somebody did that. Those they all honestly put a smile on my face, and I love reading stories that I'm either tagged in or people approach me with, and I love absolutely all of them, and I think that they're wonderful and would love to share as many as I can. But there's definitely one that I think back on a lot. It was shared with me by a friend who I met at a travel blog exchange last year. It's Gary Arndt, wonderful photographer, and great storyteller as well. And he told me about an experience in Oman. And he was traveling. He needed to travel. He was in Nizwa, and I think he was traveling to Muscat, which is about a 150-kilometer journey. And he was kind of in line, I guess, for a taxi, but he ended up getting approached by this man who, let's say, was driving an unofficial taxi. I think he sort of, regardless of the fact that they didn't really share a language, he couldn't really gather exactly what the man was offering, but he kind of was like, okay, I think he's trying to offer me a ride, because he just kept saying Muscat, Muscat. And so he said yes, I guess, and they coordinated it. And Anyway, so he hopped in the car with a total stranger, which he might have regretted, I guess, but he could have regretted. But it worked out that, yeah, this man, they drove together again, didn't really, they, I guess, made conversation with the little language that they could between the two of them, and stopped for gas, stopped for snacks along the way since it was a long journey. And so Gary said that he had grabbed his stuff out of the car once he got to his hotel safely. Brought his stuff to the lobby or to the door of his hotel and turned around to pay the taxi driver, and the guy had already left. And he said, I just was completely floored that somebody drove me all this way, paid for gas, did not accept money for any of it, and didn't even stick around for a thank you. And I just thought that that was something that was
Wow.
Wow.
just absolutely incredible. I'm like, I don't know. And the other thing too that I like to focus on with that story is, especially in a lot of Muslim majority countries, we hear a lot of narratives that are pretty far from the truth. And I just like how this particular story highlights us a little bit something different. So
It
Definitely. I think
does.
that's an amazing story, and it definitely doesn't happen very often in any parts of the world. And like you say, it's probably somewhere that many people wouldn't expect to hear something like that, just from, yeah, how we perceive that part of the world probably incorrectly. So it's a really, really nice story to have been able to hear and share. That's amazing.
yeah.
I think I would say that it happens. It's just that we have so much fear nowadays because of all these narratives that you are describing
Right.
that we try to not get exposed to them. Actually, to me, it happened
Really.
a few years ago when I arrived to Barcelona. It was midnight. I needed to cross all the city. I didn't have any money. I just asked a taxi driver in which direction I should walk, and the guy just drove me and didn't allow me to pay or anything. He was just having dinner, and he actually gave me a chocolate, and yeah, it was amazing. It was a crazy experience for me.
That
Maybe a
is,
little bit different to the one that you're describing because of the particularities of being in a Muslim culture or other things that people see different. But I think that yes, it happens. There are a lot of nice people that are willing to help without asking anything in exchange.
right.
Yeah, I didn't know that story. That's really nice.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That is really, yeah. And I think, I think it's important to be cautious about where you're traveling. I don't think that that's the issue. It's just um, you should be cautious wherever you go. But I think for me, it's been especially important to travel to a lot of these countries personally and see that what we're reading and hearing are not always
Yeah.
totally true. So that's
Definitely,
great.
definitely. And have you personally had like any experiences like that, like kindness experiences where you've thought like, oh my God, wow, that's really incredible that you want to share as well from a personal perspective?
Again, so many, and I would love. And I'm in the process. I have a lot of them written down. I'm just kind of sharing them
Well,
periodically, but yeah, I think I always come back to one. I think it's 4 years ago now. I did the Camino de Santiago in the north of Spain, the French route, and again, sifting through my journal entries, I just have so many stories that I am working on writing down and more completely and fully. But one that I always go back to is this. We were in the town of Grañón in the north, and we were staying at a church actually, and it was donation based. So you just paid whatever you could, and pretty humble sleeping conditions. You just had like a little mat on the on the floor of the church, and which is fine. I mean, for a night, whatever. And then, and but so what they did encourage, he said, "What pay whatever you can, but we just would really appreciate if you participated in dinner." And so part of the dinner event was not just eating the meal, but preparing the meal. And so we were probably between 25 and 30 people, probably I would say from Italy, Germany, France, Spain, Canada, Ireland. I'm not even covering all of them because there's more I know.
Wow.
Um, and we did not have a single common language. There was a few of us that spoke a couple, and we sort of were able to have this translation line. Um, but really not a single one in common. It was just incredible to me to see how we all just fell into our own little respective jobs. Like somebody was on cleanup duty, somebody was putting together the salad. There was somebody that actually like even provided musical entertainment. I'm like, it's incredible. And for me, it's just such a simple task, and something that reminds me that kindness doesn't have to be something that is over the top and like, totally floors you. It's something that is just a simple task we were able to perform together, and it was just really neat to be a part of. So I think for me, that's honestly one of the top stories.
That's really cool. And I think it's really important what you say as well about not having to look too deeply actually for kindness. It can be the smallest thing just that maybe you do for somebody else to make them smile, or to do something to make their life a little bit easier or a little bit nicer, that for like a few seconds even, or a minute. And
Right.
it can sometimes seem like, oh, you have to do this enormous gesture for it to be something kind. And actually it's just having a thought about someone else and acting on it, and that's it.
That's
100%.
great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
So, how do you incorporate kindness into your daily life?
Yes. So kindness for me breaks down into a few different categories: kindness for self, kindness for others, and kindness for planet. Um,
Mm.
and I think when we talk about kindness as a daily practice, I think that in each of those categories, they're pretty big categories, but I think we can break them down into small, little, small daily practices. And so for me, kindness for self is probably can be one of the toughest ones to really commit to. Um, I think a lot of it for me comes with being mindful about my thoughts, and the kind of thoughts that I allow into my personal space, and just knowing how to filter a thought that is serving a purpose or not. And I think a lot of times the way I process those, either it's a yoga. I also am a big runner and hiker, so I think being active is a way that I just kind of have time for myself to process through a lot of the thoughts. So that's something that I would put in the category of kindness for self. Kindness for others. Um, Again, this is something that is can be very small and simple, and I think we don't have to turn to these big gestures of kindness. If you can, great.
Of
But
course.
it's just something that for me comes down to with others being present in everyday conversations. I think a lot of what I do revolves around just having conversations with people and meeting people, traveling on a regular basis, and when you ask a question, make sure that you're really listening actively to the answer. And I think that that's a little thing that we could do every day, that can make a big difference long term. So that falls into the category of kindness for others. And then kindness for planet is another thing that, again, it breaks down to small little substitutions and small reminders that I think over time you'll notice that those simple tasks of, okay, today I got to remember my metal straw, and then maybe you forget it tomorrow, it's fine, but you kind of get into this habit, and then once you've got that down, it's okay, maybe I'll remember my metal straw and my reusable cup when I go get my coffee today. And it just
Hmm.
becomes, if they are small little reminders on a daily basis, I really do think they add up over time, and they can be something that is add up to be a tremendous force. So
Definitely.
yeah, I would say those would be the three.
That's amazing. Do you do anything? Do you have any special routine to remind yourself that you want or you want to incorporate kindness in your daily life?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a routine. I think for me, and I'm somebody that can be pretty forgetful, and I can be very I don't know, just free spirited, and I think in my older years, I've really tried to get into the habit of starting my mornings or even the night before, just kind of writing down a list of what I want to accomplish that day. And again, maybe it doesn't have to be some big goal that is just kind of looming over my head. Maybe it's just a little list of like, don't forget that. Or maybe the night before, like, make sure I pack because I know I'm going to go get coffee in the morning. So make sure I pack, XYZ in the car or in my purse if I am in Spain because I don't have a car in Spain. But yeah, I think for me, to have something really set in, it needs to be written. So I think that's probably something that I've gotten into in my recent years. So yeah. What about you guys? Do you?
Not in a way that's related to specifically kindness in my head, but we, for example, here when we've been in Colombia, we've been going to the beach every single morning at sunrise, and we do a bit of yoga and mindfulness. And when I'm doing mindfulness, I think of what I'm grateful for, and I set my goals for the day. And yeah, the things that I want to achieve. And usually they're quite task-based. So listening to this chat, I kind of want to try to include something, maybe like a kindness for others, kind of that I actively do something for someone else that day. I think it's quite in our routine to do like things for the planet because we travel with our reusables and things. So it's more the kindness for others that I want to make sure that I actively do, speaking to you today. So I think I might include that in my mindfulness in the mornings.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
And I think you guys and I are a lot alike in the sense I think that we're both pretty active. We're all pretty active people, and I think if not writing it down, it could be something that is nice to work into whatever physical activity I'm starting my day with. I don't know. I think I just think more clearly that way.
Yeah.
And my intentions for the day really seem to set in more. So I like that idea. That's really good. Yeah.
I really like particularly about writing. I think it's a good advice, and especially the night before, because yes, I try to incorporate this in my meditation maybe or my few minutes when I wake up. But sometimes I find it very hard because I have too many thoughts in my mind and I don't really know what I want to focus on.
Right.
And maybe writing it the night before, taking some time, getting ready for to start the next day in the right way. I think it's a really good advice. So I would try it.
I know. I think that it helps me to do it the night before. It like gets me already with a flexible outline of what's going on for the next day instead of waking up and realizing, oh, geez, I got to do that. And I think my last minute Lauren self would totally love to do it the morning of or even midday. And that's fine. Whenever you got to do it, it's great. But the night before is helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's a little bit different, I guess. So, like you said before, you got to do it when it works for you and fit it into part of the day that suits you best. So, night before or on the morning. Yeah.
Right.
Linda here, particularly, is one of your biggest fans of Multilingual Mondays. I don't know if you already know that. I also really like it, but Linda is the one that always comes here like, oh, look what Lauren is doing, Paco, and I don't know.
Yeah, there was one, I think it was about, I don't remember what the topic was, but I remember the setting that you'd put in the Multilingual Monday for Spanish was like to do something in a restaurant, and it was like asking the waiter for something, and your character of the waiter was called Paco, and it was like, hey, Paco, and I found it so hilarious, and I always go to the restaurant and think, I wonder if his name is Paco, so I can call him. That's amazing.
That is so funny.
But yeah, the Multilingual Mondays, I think, are a really amazing little feature on your on your weekly social media and something like that. So what inspired you to start those?
Yes. Okay, so my background is as a Spanish teacher. I'm currently teaching English in Spain, but most of what I studied is teaching Spanish, and it's something that I'm not often doing now that I'm living mostly in Spain, but it's something that I think selfishly of like, I wonder if I can still work this into my own daily life. And I think for me, my desire to share it, I love teaching, as I said. I love helping out with some practical phrases. I also wanted it to be something that could be something useful and practical that's coming into your social media space. So a lot of times we're just kind of scrolling mindfully. I do the same thing. But I really wanted it to be something that was brief, just a quick lesson. People could go back and rewatch on highlights and everything if they wanted to. But if they're, on their morning commute or whatever it is, they don't have much time. than just watch a minute of the video. And so I wanted it to be something that was available to people as they're scrolling through social media, and have it be something that maybe is a little bit more productive. And also because I know we've all talked about, I keep saying we all is just that to me is a very simple, kind gesture that you can make. And again, I am fluent in Spanish and English. I really try to make an effort to learn other languages when I go. Not the whole language. It is a seriously lifelong process. But even if we can just kind of drill a couple of quick phrases in the country that I'm visiting, I think it makes a big difference, and it's something that just shows that you care and that you've made an effort and an attempt. So if I can be at all a help in that, then I'm happy to do that. So, and I have other projects on the horizon with Multilingual Mondays. This summer has been wild, but I have lots of things in the back of my mind and on paper that are going to be hopefully going into full force soon. But some other languages and more consistent as well. So
that's very cool. I'm very much looking forward to those.
I love that you guys follow. I appreciate that so much.
No,
but you have a great teacher right there. I'm serious.
It's true. Yes, of course. And I was going to say, you can have Caleb maybe feature on one of yours as like an accent of Spanish or something, the Argentinian accent.
Exactly.
And some
no
key phrases.
problem. Yeah, no problem.
I'm so down. I am so down for that. I would love to do that.
And when you're learning maybe a few phrases from a different language when you visit somewhere, do you do anything specific to learn that? Like if someone was to say like, okay, I'm going to, I don't know, Turkey, and I really need to learn something, some words or phrases from there. Is there any advice you would give someone on where to go to be able to learn those basic phrases? Or would you kind of just do it in the moment when you're there?
Again, if I'm being totally honest, I'm a very last minute person. So I would probably, maybe not when I get there, but I would kind of, for me in advance, is like a couple days before my trip, I would start, I'm such a, like an old school language learner sometimes. I will make flashcards for myself, and I'll kind of quiz myself on flashcards. I'm such a language nerd, it's kind of embarrassing.
Wow.
But yeah,
that's amazing.
But in terms of oh gosh, I feel like a lot of what I do is just kind of quick Google searches, honestly, on just kind of some practical phrases. But that's part of what I'm trying to get more into is, okay, what information is already out there? Is this something that is, I'm sure, I mean, basic phrases, basic greetings are all over the internet. But I think if we can try to work in even some like local colloquial slang, that would be great. And so for me, it's actually the other thing too that I recommend is when I am there, meet people and say, okay, so this is what I think I know. People from the country, what extra information can you give me, the insider tip? So I'm kind of somebody that would start up a conversation with somebody, hopefully, if we can bridge some of the languages together and get some insider tips there. But it can be tricky. It can be really tricky. But I do think that there's a decent amount of information out there. So.
Definitely. Well, that's good. I think that bridges kind of like gives information for both people who like to plan and people who just kind of do it when they get there. So I think that's great advice for both types of people.
Yes.
Yeah, the important thing is to do it, and it goes a long way when you do it and you're in a new country.
We've noticed a big difference whenever we try, even with things like Arabic, where it's a bit difficult for us, but it makes a difference when you try, and the people definitely interact with you a bit differently. Even if you can just smile and say good morning as you walk past, they're like, oh, good morning, and it's like, oh, cool. Like it's nice.
People really, really smile back at us.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah, I think so too. Like any sort of like small attempt at interaction, I think can go a long way and opens a lot of doors,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time and for meeting with us again.
Yes.
For us, it's a pleasure. Always.
I know. Thank you guys for.
So that was an amazing chat with Lauren. Thank you for sharing all this time with us.
Yes, don't forget to go and follow her at Committing to Kindness on Instagram, and I think she has a blog coming soon too, so stay tuned for that. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to see more of these eco-travel chats.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.